Thank you. Thank you.
And
We don't know if we're supposed to record or not, so,
can't hurt.
right,
Better safe than sorry.
I
right.
think it's a good idea.
All right, so here we have no old business. Our new business is to appoint the judge advocate.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Lisa McGlasson, judge advocate for the Veterans Assistance Commission. And before anybody seconds, I would like Lisa McGlasson to advise the board of her qualifications for this position.
I actually want a second before we do a
Right.
conversation.
Yeah.
Okay,
Second.
Thank you.
okay, second.
Good evening. I did include a long bio, short resume, something to give you an idea of my experience. I'm a retired federal employee. I worked 31 years for the Department of Defense. Prior to college, I was active duty Army. And 31 years, a lot of things. I also went to law school, so I am barred in Virginia to practice law. And I have a lot of background in things that I believe would be helpful or useful to the board. Things from being a records officer at the Federal Aviation Administration, understanding records, to supporting the Presidential Forum Labor Relations, which relied on the open meetings process at the federal level. So I'm aware of those things as well. I have proposed legislation, regulation, policy at all levels of federal government, made legislative changes to state laws, various things that impact personnel, civilians, military personnel, and contractors that work across the federal sector. If you have any questions for me about any of my background or interest or anything else.
Don't forget the bylaws.
The bylaws. Trying to help with the bylaws. I was really new though. I really couldn't understand them. Give it a shot.
I don't have any questions. I'm thrilled that we're nominating Lisa for this role because she's got not just an outstanding background, but just such a great servant's heart to want to continue to serve our veterans. So I'm thrilled with that.
Outstanding. Anybody else have any comments before we move to our vote? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do a roll call again, because last time we were not unanimous, and now Janet's voting.
Okay, bear with me just one moment, please.
That's all right.
Technology is catching up.
Record keeping is important. Slow and steady. Slow and steady.
I'm working on it. Okay, so the motion on the table is to appoint Lisa McGlasson, judge advocate of the Will County Veterans Assistance Commission Board. I, Denise Williams, made the motion, seconded by Steve Beneke. So,
I just, yeah,
sorry.
we jumped in.
You guys are both right there.
Okay. It's my reading back. Secretary Denise Williams, I vote yes. Sergeant at Arms Amanda Koch.
Yes.
Chaplain Jim Seenberg.
Yes.
Steve Beneke,
Yes.
member,
Yes.
and Wayne Horn.
Yes.
We have unanimous.
And I didn't get to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, Janet. Oh, after all of that, Janet, Lou, member.
Yes.
Doom.
Yes.
All right. So we have unanimous.
Now I'm gonna pause for a point of clarification from our state's
That's why
attorney.
that was in there.
If we are appointing her as the judge advocate, is she now a voting member?
No,
No? Okay.
Not till next month,
uh,
or till the
no,
next meeting.
no,
But I can still move
she's
up.
not, doesn't qualify.
No,
Oh, that's
it's
right, she
not a-
never
it's not a-
votes.
No,
Okay.
it would be a conflict of.
And it's
things like
not
that.
there's no place in our bylaws for that person to be a part of the executive
Okay.
board.
Not of the closed meeting.
You're still sitting at the table. We're happy to have you.
Now we can walk.
I'm Chris's guest.
All right, our
Supporting.
second agenda item is to review the IGA process.
Progress.
Sorry.
Janet, I sent it to you in an email. Have you received it yet?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Great. So myself, Chris, Maren Mahoney, Jack and Wayne. We met at the county building to go over line by line with the IGA. And we had settled on what is in front of you guys right now. It's this one, Denise.
Yes, this one, not this one.
Big packet.
He needs a thicker package. And who were you at that meeting with, Chrissy?
Lauren, Mahoney, me,
No, yeah, so.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
you and
Maren Mahoney,
Jack, and
Piccolo.
Wayne,
And, mhm.
and Jen.
Oh, yeah, Jen.
So it was explained to me that they are gonna sign it first.
Yeah, so we asked, well, Chris is talking to Mary Tatro and Maren Mahoney to see if county executive would sign it first, since Jack is not available for signature as of yet.
Well, normally the board doesn't like to see anything that isn't already signed.
Mhm.
And my suggestion would be to, not till next meeting, of course, but approve it from our end, but just let the county board know that it's been approved, but because of circumstances we can't control, it won't be signed until later. We've done that before.
Yeah.
It's unusual, but we have done that before. I think that would be acceptable.
This is for you guys to get a first look at it. We go into the next meeting.
So we can do our official vote on this next meeting.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it until next.
Right.
meeting.
Okay.
But I want you guys to look
So
at it
that'll give
before
us
the
all
next
a
meeting,
month To look at, well, it won't be a month,
2 weeks.
to look over this whole packet and see if we have any other questions. Because we can amend it, right? Technically.
Yeah, we
I don't think
we
we
can do
have
whatever
to,
we
but-
want to, yeah, still at that point in time.
will be.
Can I ask who put this together?
It was myself, State's Attorney Wise, State's Attorney Mary Mahoney, who's the State's Attorney assigned to County Executive. Jack was at the meeting, Wayne was at the meeting, and Jen was at the meeting from the office, Jen Solon.
Thank you.
Welcome. So there was a lot of edits going back and forth since then. What was that, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
Yeah, we had a lot of stuff going back and forth, but this is what we've agreed upon.
Just a technical question. Is it the highlighted?
Those are the comments. So when you're looking at it, this is the clean version.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is much prettier than we've seen it before.
Yeah.
What's in bold is what was in question.
What's in bold is what was added.
It is in
Mhm.
bold, and then there's still some questions based on pending legislation. it looks like.
Yes, which is 2A. So Lisa just pointed out that there's some questions based on pending legislation. The Military Veterans Assistance Act amendments were to be read for the third reading in the state Senate on March 23rd or 25th. I'm gonna have to look at my calendar. But I cannot find and it was scheduled, but I can't find a recording of that. And I can't find any responses of that. And I asked the IAC, VAC Board of Directors today if they had heard anything since then, and they have not. So as of right now, it was scheduled for a third reading, but nothing has happened, or no movement on that, though there should have been. So what this IGA does is it gives the Veterans Assistance Commission accessibility into county resources that we have been told that we don't have sometimes, but it's still, I don't remember which paragraph it's in, Chris, but the VAC employees are still the VAC employees. The spirit behind this IGA initiated to assist the county of Will with the understanding of what the VAC does. Not for control, not for oversight, not so they can tell us what to do, anything like that. It's so the county employees understand us and we have something on paper outside of a statute.
I appreciate it.
She's typing it
This
out.
is recording too, so you'll be good. I'm putting it on the computer.
Like I'm gonna have time to go back and do that.
You might want to.
Anyways, so, moving on to our third agenda item, we have a staff update, so I'm gonna turn towards Christie again.
So one more thing on the IGA to point out, though, is that it expires at the end of every county executive term. So it's not this ongoing forever thing. It'll keep everybody more cognizant of what's going on. So if we were to get a new county executive, this thing would be done. And
We should mention though that it's likely to be adopted in the same or nearly similar format by
Right.
either the same county executive when she's reelected or the next county executive.
Right.
So this is a good precedent to set.
Janet, do you have any questions on that?
No, I had one comment though. Is this something that our judge advocate would be taking a look at for us to give us her feedback, comments on how it represents us?
I believe that Lisa's given us lots of comments and feedback on this.
I have, but I'll take a look at it.
Again?
Yeah.
In her official capacity?
Yeah, now that I'm more than just a standby.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you.
It's a good point, though, Janet.
What's 2A?
Oh, that's the Veterans Act that she was talking about. It's like the third reading, but they haven't made any movement on it. So that bill might change. That's gonna answer some of these questions in the margins here.
Right, referencing that, and that's what I'm putting in the minutes here, so if I can, I want to be answering this correctly. If you have additional question or something, if I'm not getting it, let me know, but what I stated here was, McNichol advised what is in bold, section 2A, referencing the NBAA. That have been changed.
So maybe in 2 weeks we'll know more.
Yeah. I checked the status of the bill when I sent you guys out this invite, and since then there's been 2 additional co-sponsors added to it, but nothing else has changed. So I don't know,
Stand by to stand by.
right?
All right. Are we ready for number 3?
Number 3.
Staff update.
So the next thing in your packet, and Janet, I emailed this to you as well. Did you get it?
I did get a second one. I didn't. Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the executive assistant update? Go ahead, Janet.
No, I said good. Yes, I did get it. Thank you.
Okay, so we did make an offer to the executive assistant, the volunteers that volunteered at the last board meeting. They came in and actually really ran the interviews. It was Denise and Lisa. And it went great. We interviewed 3 candidates. We settled on a lady named Anne Marie. Anne Marie has a background in accounts payable, accounting, bookkeeping, all things like that, which goes hand in hand with number 1 under executive assistant, which is D365. What I've laid out here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are my order of priorities for the executive assistant to get in. Number 1 looks like a lot, but she already has been trained in D365 and does all the AP stuff for where she works right now, which is Will County Animal Control. So she, during her interview, when she started talking about her D365 experience, Jen and I started laughing because we share the same experience with her. So she will be starting on April 11th as of right now. We are trying to work out a schedule between her and her current supervisor because she needs to, you know, kind of help them transition or transition somebody else into her role because D365 is a beast. And there's a lot going on when you have to be the person putting it in. It's not so bad on my end, but the other side, it's pretty rough. Number 2 on her priority list is the board meetings. So she will be the liaison to the board. She will be in charge of sending you the meeting agendas, the invites, understanding Open Meetings Act, FOIA. I'm going to have her review the county board meeting minutes and their agendas as something to get familiarized with. That's my number 2 priority. Number 3 would be the records disposal. That includes electronic files. Jennifer Scharf is currently the point of contact for records at the County of Will. And we have the records disposal on file here. The 4th one is financial assistance. The executive assistant will be step 3 in financial assistance right now. So currently the assistant superintendent processes it. She sticks it in D365 and then I go in there and approve it. It's a little difficult in D365 to see the forms and the papers and the bills and, you know, connect the dots with the dates. And given that it takes a lot of time and effort to get them in D365, we're adding another step in there. So the assistant superintendent will still take them in. I'm gonna cough. The superintendent will approve. And then we'll go from there.
And the administrative assistant then will be the 3rd check on the financial assistance in D365.
No. So then the executive assistant will enter it in. And then the superintendent will go back in. Okay. Number 5, you guys. Vetra reports, you know, the reports that, well, actually, you guys don't know the reports. I pull reports on staff. And she'll be doing that.
Is there any veteran status with this person?
She is the spouse of a retired Army.
Yes, Army, he served,
I think they were
He
together
served.
12 years during his career.
Yeah.
and he
Moved
served,
here from Oklahoma. Well, they were.
she lived on base in Oklahoma. At the Footsill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Process.
Yeah.
She's also paralegal. So she's got that.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Which will help with a lot of the OMA, the board, things like that, that aspect. She's used to doing that, doing the typing, you know, as people are talking fast and things of that nature.
And she's really, really nice, which I know is not in the job description. She's very open. She's very communicative. She gave us a lot of examples
She didn't hire no grant.
of,
No,
yeah.
She's younger than you, that's all you need to know.
Isn't like, but I mean, come on.
Wow.
Like,
Can we just take a moment to be happy for Denise that she doesn't have to type after this meeting? She
Can
doesn't
we
have to
be
type anymore.
really happy for Denise?
You got at least another meeting of typing. At least one more.
You know, you are a real killjoy.
I know.
You're a volunteer.
The end
Denise.
is near.
You're a
Yeah.
volunteer.
All right. Is that all the stuff we needed to go through for this? The
No,
Vetra?
yeah, for this.
All right, so.
Other-
Other, she'd be here today, but she's not. All right, any other staffing stuff?
Yeah. So. Thanks.
It's a true gentleman.
Where did those
My
guys
father
go?
said always have a clean handkerchief.
Where did those guys go?
right?
Oh, he's right
This is why I
here.
love this
Yeah,
one.
but.
My grandpa used to give me one of these, but it was always like nasty and crusty, and wrinkled. right?
You did return the last one I gave you at the county board meeting.
Oh, yeah.
when you got- Yeah, so I have every reason I will get that back somewhere around Christmas.
Probably.
When she stops needing it.
What?
When she stops needing it.
Right.
See about that.
Well, you know.
All right.
It never got out of her dirty clothes hamper.
I am terrible at doing laundry, and that's no joke. I don't even do it in my house. All right. The last staff update is I'm resigning. I wrote a letter to be put in. Yeah.
Dear BACWC Executive Board, dated March 30th, 2022. I'm writing this letter to notify each of you that I am resigning from my position as superintendent. My last day of employment will be April 13th, 2022. I am very proud of the BACWC footprint in the county of Will today, and look forward to observing continued growth. I wish each of you continued health and success in the future. If I can assist with the transition to my successor, please do let me know. Very sincerely, Christy McNichol, Army veteran.
I may not get that handkerchief back.
We need a motion to move into executive board's closed meeting to discuss.
You need to appoint an
The-
interim.
We need
Alright.
to move into executive closed session to discuss personnel issues.
So I will say Denise is making the motion to move into executive session. May I get
I'll second that.
a second from Janet Bloom? All those in favor? Or do you want us to call a roll call like we do at the county board?
Yeah, we do roll call.
Because we're,
We kind of.
Let's just do it.
we have a virtual
Can't
component. Ms. Williams? Yes. Amanda Coke?
Yes.
Jim Singer?
Yes.
Janet? Lou?
Yes, yeah.
Steve Beneke?
Yes.
Wayne Horn?
Yes.
We have unanimous. That means everybody who is not a member of the executive board needs to leave the room. We ask you, please don't go far.
It's okay for Janet, because you're. first.
Yeah, she's virtual and
Janet
part of
is a
this
member?
board.
Steve is part of the board as a member. Chris, I'm sorry. No.
I typically stay. but
He stays
that's-
because he's counsel.
Thank you.
Trust me, he's staying.
I wanted somebody else to say that. It's not my fault.
You can.
Okay. Chomping on gum.
All right, so just real quick, since we are recording, we have our sergeant at arms, me, Amanda Cook, we have Denise Williams, we have our superintendent who, Christy McNichol, we have our state's attorney, Chris Wise, we have Steve Beneke, Jim Singler, and Wayne Horn.
We are still maintaining quorum.
I don't know how to, if I stop and start again, does that work, or is it all the
Yes.
same thing? So I
I
stop.
No,
only have one handkerchief.
It should say, you should be able to pause it. Don't hit.
Okay, so I've actually accepted a new position. So it's been in the works for a while.
No,
It-
notes.
What?
I don't take notes.
No. So I want to say that. I've got to learn a lot. You guys, we went from, 128 North Scott Street, where we had 4 bathrooms, 3 offices, a leaky toilet, and uneven floors. And a staff of 3.5 on a good day. to this office on Glenwood where we offer showers to homeless people. We house people. We have the largest staffed VAC in the state of Illinois. We're the only VAC that receives appropriations from the state of Illinois. We're the only VAC that gets money from HUD and from emergency food and shelter out of FEMA dollars, also from Washington, DC. And you guys did that. So I want to say thank you. Because this wouldn't be what it is, and I wouldn't have gotten to learn everything I've learned without you guys here. We're also the only VAC that offers combat counseling. We're the only VAC that's done yoga. We're the only VAC that's going to have a functional fitness gym for disabled veterans in the Midwest. That's going to be us. Our gym equipment was, delivered last week, so it's moving forward. And you guys did that. You saw the vision. You knew it was needed, and that's what we did. And that's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of growth in 10 years. But I really think I'm proud of all of that stuff, but I'm kind of spent. It's a hard time creating new programs. It's not hard to create new programs. It's a hard time to keep identifying new needs. And we need some new blood to identify new needs. I know that with the gym, I have ideas for it, but I'm sure somebody has an idea that's better than mine. I'll be around to ask questions. I have things laid out on steps that needs to be done. That's kind of the bottom part of your executive assistant. Lay some things out of information she needs to know. But I would suggest appointing an interim since I am here for another 2 weeks, so I can get people rolling. Because a lot of the work has already been done. They just have to get up to speed. So with you guys want, I don't know how to do this. I've never done this. I've never resigned from anything before in my life besides the army, so I don't know.
How we can appoint somebody in the interim with this group.
Yeah. I don't know that has to be done tonight.
I think that we can discuss it and make a recommendation and bring everybody else in for the full vote
Yeah,
at the executive,
I think
out of
that
executive
When
session,
we
because we
come
can't
out
vote
of
in executive
executive
session.
session, we would also say that we officially accept the resignation,
And
right?
then the date.
We vote on the
And the
resignation
date.
and the date, and then we can also motion and vote on an interim and all of that stuff, but
Now, would it
we
be
need to
better
discuss it
to
in
take
here.
nominations for interim?
I have no idea how you,
How we
how
do
you.
I
do
think that because we only have 2 weeks notice, I think that having an
Time is
interim,
of the utmost importance.
Somebody
Thinking
in
about
here?
it is one thing, but there are rules and that doesn't fit the rules.
There aren't really any rules on this. What?
It's in the bylaw.
I mean, we can't leave it
It's
a
not in
rudderless
the
ship,
bylaws.
right?
It's got nothing to do with the resignation, it's got to do with who we hire as superintendent.
Mhm.
You need to have an interim though, Wayne.
Who's your assistant? I don't disagree with you, I'm just saying, who's your assistant?
I don't know if the assistant is gonna be in place and have enough information in order to function as the assistant in the interim.
Don't we have a deputy commissioner? Isn't that what Jen?
And then as a board, we're gonna have to decide how we hire this person, because this is not just posting it on the county website and getting a few resumes.
Yeah, this is gonna have to be, we're gonna have to vote on, or we're gonna have to talk about getting a search firm, getting a good, like headhunting type search firm, somebody that hires for nonprofits, because, 8 years ago, and we go way back more than me, but 8 years ago, Wayne, when I got involved in this was a little thing. We are so far beyond the scope of what we were 8 years ago. This is not a job that is just, I mean, now it's something that is a whole nother level as it is right now. I mean, Christy did this great speech about all the things that the Little County VAC board did, and that's great, but it's wrong. Because the board didn't do it. Christy did it. Granted, we gave her the permission and the space in which to just run and create and be a unicorn and do all of this stuff. But she's created something now that is so far above and beyond what it originally was. And it's so far beyond what the MVAA intended as a bare minimum, because that's the floor.
It evolved. It evolved. It would be naive to think it did anything other than, I'm proud to say that she's there because of me in the first place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely leaving some big shoes to fill.
Do we currently have a deputy superintendent?
We do. So the
So
only
step
thing.
in as the interim?
The only thing I can lean on, so Denise brought up the Military Veterans Assistance Act. So currently within the Military Veterans Assistance Act, the VAC must provide, emergency financial assistance to veterans. With the appeal that we were going back and forth with, all those emails ago, however long that's been going on, come to find out, the veteran wasn't even denied financial assistance. It was based on the probability of denial of financial assistance. So that's a very large portion of what we do. And my recommendation for the interim would be Eric. He's gone through hard times at the VAC before. He knows financial assistance like the back of his hand, and he also hates it. But he knows it. And he has no desire to maintain the responsibility
So in
because he
that
knows,
sense-
yeah.
In that sense, he'd be a very good interim because he would maintain the ship, do everything to maintain the ship, but he doesn't want to stay at the rudder.
And he knows,
Would he be okay with that? I mean, because he did step back a little bit, and would he be okay with that amount of responsibility, even for short term? Does that work for him? You know what I mean? I like the idea, I
Okay.
do, but his
I like the idea too.
is important as well.
because, I mean, there's not, in my opinion, there's not going to be, or not maybe, I can't identify a competition for this position within this office. So I think he's even, he's,
Yeah, no, he's a great choice.
I agree.
He's a senior, isn't he? He's a senior employee.
yeah, and he's been here the longest. He actually is the one that developed our claim tracker. He's the one that pulls all of our reports. He is an Excel whiz. And the best part about Eric is he knows exactly what he doesn't know. And he will tell you what he doesn't know, but anything else, even with like the claims, he knows the CFR like the back of his hand. He represents veterans up at the Court of Veteran Appeals more than anybody else. And we all look to him for his expertise on VA benefits. He's on the IDVA and VAC Collaborative Education Committee, and that's the IDVA training director requested him because he's pretty smart.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I like him.
What do you think, Jim? Jim's got a question.
Is he apt to stay?
Was he what?
Is he apt to stay?
In the superintendent role?
No, you
No.
already made that perfectly clear. He's not interested in that. and
Mhm.
I won't countermand that. But is he have to stay with the VAC here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my concern, is that I feel like he said, this is my comfortable level, you know, this is where I'm comfortable. Because I want to keep doing the VAC work, so I hate to push him too far outside his comfort zone, but if he's in it to win it, I think it's great.
Yeah.
We have several problems to solve here, Jim, without worrying about
Yeah, don't have problems.
what might happen.
Well, I mean,
All right, so
I
Eric's.
think you have to take it into consideration.
I
I
do.
think it is a point, and I think Eric has got some really, really good strengths, but he's not. Well, we have a judge advocate. We have a judge advocate that can oversee policies and all the stuff that's going on, the stuff that Chris is in the presence of us now for, and all of that stuff. We have somebody that's a judge advocate that could she be appointed as an
We
interim
need to hire an
overseer?
attorney anyway, so I mean,
That's on the April 12th agenda.
right.
Right,
So, again, we don't need to solve any problems before we solve the other problems.
okay,
We have a problem with the board. Jack is probably not gonna come back to this anytime soon, if at all.
No.
Right.
And I don't know where Nick is, but,
Nicholas is working and he's no longer working in Joliet, which makes it so difficult for him.
well, and that's another consideration.
It's starting to feel like a rudderless ship, you know what I
Yes.
mean?
But
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, oh.
Right. Well, just as far as hierarchy goes, if Jack's not here, then it's Nicholas. If Nicholas is not here, then Amanda runs the meeting.
I talked to Jack today, because he knew we had a special meeting, but he accidentally deleted the email. And once they're talking about discharging him within the next week, he will be comfortable doing the Zoom. I think his wife Carol is actually going to talk him into getting it like an iPad or a computer, which is a pretty big leap considering he got his first smartphone like 2 years ago and he had a flip phone before then. So but will you see him physically in this room? I don't think so, not for a while.
I mean, you can consider the guy's age and all that too. I mean, it's gonna be stressful for a while, so this is just not something that we can just,
When's the
Yes,
next board election?
October?
October,
yeah, I mean, we can't wait that long.
no. From May. Well, technically, we have meetings every month, but we've only got 2 commission meetings. Commission at the whole week, June and September.
So what we can do in the next meeting, I might urge us to also have like an interim president of the board. You know what I mean? While Jack is not here, just because then it's consistent month to month.
No.
Could he still be a voting member?
I mean, our bylaws are something that need to be looked at as well. As I hear things, judge advocates doing stuff that there's no bylaw that says that's allowed. Christie and I were in the middle of looking at those, and I've got a draft actually put together, but there's no procedure for an interim president or anything like that. I don't know that we necessarily need it. We just need one of the other officers to step up and assume that role. I don't know if we have to.
I mean, every time I'm
I
here.
agree.
You do this.
Yeah,
Well, as far as the bylaws are concerned, I think we just need to put them on the books, and we'll work with what additions or adjustments we need to make as we go along.
Maybe a past president could be the interim president.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe one of those two guys would want to do that, but this one doesn't.
Oh,
Thank you.
I already tried.
okay.
I already got an absolutely evil, I
I'm
know. You saw it.
More
too.
than willing to tip the hat and say, you have a question, let me know, but.
Now, I will say though, that with Jack being gone, Nicholas having a hard time getting here, honestly, you just being in the room and making quorum is a big deal. You know what I mean? Like that's huge because it doesn't matter, like you said, if we don't have the president or vice president, I mean, it's not good. But it's not the worst thing, but we do need to make sure that we meet our quorum every month,
Yeah.
essentially.
I think it would be good to get really clear direction on the Open Meetings Act and voting over Zoom, so that if Nicholas can make meetings, then he might be able to make them, and that will retain some consistency as well. That was going to be one of my questions for Lisa, to say, could you really hash it out and come back to us with clear lanes for us to swim in when it comes to whether we can vote on Zoom, or whether, why someone needs to, what criteria needs to be met for them to be on Zoom at all, if any. And then we will retain people like Nicholas if he can make a meeting virtually.
Right, except how effectively is he going to be able to, well, if he's sitting in an office, but if he's driving, he's not gonna be effectively able to lead a meeting.
Oh, you can't lead a meeting on Zoom, so whoever's leading the meeting has to be in the room.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing wrong with
Yeah.
Jack or Nicholas being on Zoom, but I was
Right.
to run it here in person, unless I'm not here, and I don't know who's next, but.
I am, and you will never allow to not be here.
But, I'm just saying that it's not that big of a deal to run these meetings, they're not that formal, I guess, so.
Let's have Lisa give us the clear hierarchy as well, of if someone's not here, it falls to that person,
We have the hierarchy.
all of that information.
Yeah, that we have, that we know for sure.
Chrissy can give- Well,
I don't have that. If someone could share it, that'd be great.
Well, it's just simply the way the hierarchy is, the way it shows up on the attendance. It's
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
President, vice president, it's listed wrong here because it is the sergeant at arms takes over before the secretary.
Ah,
Which is backwards.
It's hard for the secretary right now without an executive assistant to run the meeting,
Uh-huh,
so I'd skip over you anyway, just because I
Yeah.
like you better than that.
thank you.
All right, so we're okay, the board's okay
Yeah,
right now. Let's wait and see what happens with Jack and what is it, like
Nicholas.
6 months? We've had.
There is that one big concern, whether it is in this, all these FOIAs and all this stuff, needs to be dealt with relatively quickly, and the board is, the organization has got to take care of that, and I think we need to do that relatively quickly. I think that's why we need to get an attorney on board. No offense, Chris. We need to sign the attorney's check. And get this over with, because as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, basically, we've done everything that was needed to be done. We've all been advised, we all have a sense of what was being objected to. And unless the person wants to come forward and sit down and listen to a meeting, or have a meeting, or file charges, or whatever the hell he wants to do, I'm tired of dealing with it. So let's get.
Yeah. With respect, though, I'm not sure we should even be discussing this if it's not an agenda item.
Part of personnel.
Okay,
all right, so the idea of, and I hear you, Wayne, and I agree that, yeah, that is something that we're gonna need to put it on the agenda for
Well-
for April 12th. Isn't it, if it's not already, it needs to go on the agenda, we need to
Well,
hire
it
an
actually
attorney.
is, and the reason I'm gonna let it fly for Open Meetings Act and agenda is because our executive assistant is onboarding just before our next meeting on the 12th. She said she's starting on the 11th. And one of the things that is her job function is to get an attorney on retainer.
That's, where is that at? To do, to get done. That's my to get done.
So are you doing that before she comes on?
I think I would not like to ask anybody else to try to find an attorney without knowing the full story. I don't think that's fair.
No, I don't think so either.
Right. So that's my to do things for you guys, knowing that I was
No, I
gonna be
would
reading my
assume
letter.
that we're gonna, and that's another reason I like the idea of having an interim
Mhm.
superintendent, because I think it's important that we have somebody kind of carrying the torch that then will stay in the office as
Mhm.
well. I like your question, is Eric gonna stick around?
Well, it goes beyond Eric.
Right,
You have a complete staff here. And
I don't think anybody's gonna jump ship because I'm jumping
know.
ship.
I didn't ask, but
Oh,
it was my next
Well,
question.
and if it happens, it happens. I mean, we can't
Yeah, you
pretend
can't.
to know what everybody's gonna do. I mean, we just gotta hope for the best here. So what do we have to do? Two questions. You're gonna hate me. One, what do we have to do to install an interim superintendent? So that we know all this information isn't leaving with Christie. Two, what do we have to do legally to get a superintendent? I am familiar with on the county side, when we have the head of a department leave that process. But we are not technically a county department. This is a little bit different.
I think it's incumbent upon.
Do we just
Well,
need to
who-
create the
who hired-
process?
Who hired Christie?
Yeah, because that's before my
The
time.
board. They just
no,
before me.
no, no.
Not
That
hired.
my predecessor hired me and then I was named interim.
Yeah.
Also, I was the only veteran working in the office that could be named interim. So there's
But
that.
when you did assume superintendent, who made you that?
The board did.
When you say the board, do you mean the executive board?
Yeah.
Yes, the executive board promoted her to the position of permanent superintendent.
Then I think the executive board needs to debate and figure out their own course of action. There isn't any, I can't point to anything. There isn't anything.
And in the bylaws, right, isn't it somewhat, that's just simply as our responsibility, but not how to.
Yeah,
So we can technically, not that it's probably legally a good idea, pick a name out of a hat. Or we could come up with some process.
So
So I can tell, so back in July of 2013. Nope, 13. I don't remember what, all that matters is I was on the job for 6 months. And I was named interim superintendent. When we moved, when I did 6 months as the interim, and then I was promoted to superintendent. So there was no hiring process. Ms. Ketchum, who was my predecessor, hers was the same way. Jim retired, Cindy moved up. Cindy hired me to fill her shoes. And this has never happened in this VAC. So
It's been so official.
Other than
Yeah.
initially we hired Bembo.
but even, that's when you were establishing the VAC,
Yeah, we were-
right?
Coming together ourselves
Mm-hmm.
as a board.
I mean, I like the idea of a firm to look, but we're looking for such a special, I mean, first of all, you're looking at veterans. How many people are veterans?
Well,
With
not very many.
those qualifications, so it's a fairly narrow search.
Mhm.
right,
And
but
I think we've got resources, military organization type resources.
I don't know that we have the resources to get the type of person and the
I
quality of
don't
candidates.
suggestions, I mean, it's just word of mouth. I mean, we may not have, sending out
Can I make a suggestion?
right,
So I think if you use a hiring firm, and there's multiple in this area that nonprofits and people use, that hiring firm then posts the job for you, they gather the resumes for you, they do the initial interview for you. And then by the time it gets to you guys, the hiring agency or the hiring executive board, most of the legwork is done. And then you're getting the top candidates in front of you. It's not going to be, if you choose Eric, it's not going to be Eric's job to pick who's going to be the superintendent if Jen applies.
We just need to have like what we're looking for, right? Do we require them to be a Will County resident? Do we require them to be a veteran? Do we, you know what I mean?
They have to be a
What are our
veteran.
must-have items, and then what are our dream items, and then we just put them on it.
those two things you just mentioned actually were criteria.
Mhm.
Will County residents?
It was.
It was. It's
It-
not
it
now,
should
though.
be.
It's not now.
And don't we, should be, yes and no, but being this close to Chicago, we may be able to get deeper. We might be able to toss our line deeper if they don't, if they're not required to be a Will County resident. At hiring, we could make it that they are to be a Will County resident within a year of hiring.
I'll tell you,
If
I
they're not a
fought
veteran
that
service
when I was
officer.
hired. I said that is an antiquated process. And if you wanted to hire somebody that lived in Will County, you shouldn't have hired me. I fought that. That was not,
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're exceptional, right? You are not a Will County resident and you've made this VAC, but there's only one Christie McNichol, I'm sorry.
She's a unicorn. So.
But you're suggesting, if you're going west out of Joliet, that's one thing. But if you're going east and north, that's quite a different one.
Mhm.
Right. Well, and here's the thing, it's something that we can discuss, that we don't have to decide right now, but
Right.
it's something that we can discuss
Which is-
about, okay, so what those parameters are gonna be. We want someone, Will County residency is preferred
Yeah,
and
they
will
could
be
be on our
required
hope
within
list.
a year.
We
Or,
might not even have to require it, but it's just like when you look for a house, you're like, well, I really want a 3-car garage, but you find the perfect house. The only thing that's wrong is a 2-car garage,
and that's. the
right?
reason
Same type of thing.
That residence thing is a question to me about that, but it's not something that I agree that we have. to
But I'm just saying, we
decide
need to
now.
have our, like, we will not bend list, our wish list.
and that you,
put all
you,
that stuff together.
you give that to the
To the
firm
firm.
and then they go buy it. But I would
So-
also think, since this has never been done before, most people in my position stay in my position till they die and or retire or simultaneously. You guys kind of get to set the bar for this and I can help you. I've sat on many boards who have gone through this stuff, nonprofit boards and national boards, et cetera. It's not easy to do it by yourself at all. But there's resources out there that are within your ability to use.
Well, you always harping on us being a little more professional, so.
Well, exactly, but here's the one thing that I absolutely agree on, that this is not a responsibility that should be dumped on Eric.
Absolutely not.
That absolutely not should be dumped on Eric. And I think that, can we appoint a liaison from the board to work with Eric on a daily basis for the appeals stuff, for the FOIA stuff? And that's why I'm thinking of Lisa. Can we appoint her in that position, assign her the duty or the task? I mean, I know on the one hand, there's nothing in there that says this is what we can do, but is there something in there that says we can't?
Then I know of.
And that's the question. If we're operating in a gray area, she wouldn't have authority except reporting authority back to us and being able to take better direction from us. We could be able to set her up and say, we want this, you're to handle this, because it's not fair to dump on Eric either.
This board has experience with that, but it didn't go through before. So that's not necessarily, that's not an original idea. The originator
The original
is
creative.
sitting at the end of the
Physical, we need to
table.
get to here. What do we have to do to get to here? That's my thing.
Well, I will say, I've been on this board for 5 years, which is
Really?
pretty crazy.
That is crazy. Mhm.
2017.
Wow.
That's 5 years ago already. That
And
seems so
yet I haven't aged a day in that time.
This is true.
But, I look at people who've been affiliated with this far longer than I have. What do you think?
Yes.
What say you?
Wayne, what do you got? 30 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want to do anymore. We need some new ideas. I think we've got to walk before we can start running too hard here. We're gonna have to have another meeting or some kind of consensus opportunity that puts a search in motion. We can't do this right now.
I agree.
And I think we need to have a broader representation of the veteran community. Whether we get that or not is always a question.
Yeah.
That's been something that's why we don't have more chairs than we've had, actually, because it's hard to get people interested in it.
And we also need,
Any organization.
and I think we also need more time to think about it. Let's just face it, as far as I'm concerned, we just had a ton of bricks thrown at us.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to react to minimize the damage right now, or to minimize potential chaos coming forward. So that's why I like to have something. I'm loving the idea of the interim
Yeah.
superintendent.
Buys us
I'm
time.
loving, and for that reason. Now, interim, we don't have to really define that, but reality is that we're gonna try to get that as quickly as possible. So it might take us 2 months or so. The process for hiring at this level takes time. Because whoever you hire is going to be coming from someplace and they have to have an exit plan there and all that, so.
Well,
And
two to
you,
three
can I,
months-
you can't hire someone that doesn't understand multi-different facets of government. You can't. We deal with federal stuff. We deal with state stuff. We deal with county stuff. We deal with nonprofit stuff, and finding somebody that can tick boxes like that, or at least have knowledge of, or know how to go to ilga.gov to look up House bills. That is not common. I mean, I'll tell you, I didn't know any of that stuff when I started.
But in public administration,
But
It
what
is more common.
I'm saying is you're saying like 2 months, I would 6,
okay,
6. Because if you're gonna do it and you're gonna do it right, because there's a lot, and I am ready to help whenever you have questions, because I don't want that gym to go away. I know the building's not going away, but we got the equipment there, but then there all these other little steps come into play. And whoever said, Lisa, that's a great idea, because she knows all of those little steps. And if she doesn't, she knows somebody that does.
and that she would be able to help Eric, allow Eric to do what in his wheelhouse, concentrate on what's in his wheelhouse and not, I mean, I love the boy. I don't want to overstress him. I don't want to put him in a position of him saying after 5 months, you know what, punt and walk. I don't want to do that to Eric either. So, yeah, the idea of having somebody, a member of the board, reality, I think it needs to be a member of the board, right, Wayne? Now, you want to do it?
I'm just sitting there thinking, I mean, this is an overwhelming task that we've got in front of us. This is not gonna be easy.
I can help you.
No kidding.
I can help you.
For a while, I mean, we're gonna need some
I
time.
think to
We-
figure it out on our own to some extent too. So definitely, I think there's a consensus in this room that we want the interim. And we like Eric as the interim because, as Chrissy said, and she's never wrong, it's probably gonna be about 6 months. It's gonna be a long time, right? 2 months is really,
I'm exiting. If you're gonna take minutes or
I'm
something.
not, I'm not taking minutes during the executive closed session. That's being recorded.
Okay.
I don't take minutes during
Let
that
it be known
portion.
I'm exiting, so you guys can talk and I can fill my water bottle. Let me know if you need me to come back in.
All right,
but it might take a few months. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna be 2 months that's
You're right.
really.
I'm being overly optimistic and naive.
I'll tell you something else. You advertise for this position, you're gonna have them coming out of the walls.
Well, yeah. And which of us here on the board have the time to go through all of those resumes?
So, in recruitment, if we're going to take on a search firm, then we can have all of those applications directed to that search firm.
Exactly my point, yes.
Include them in their candidate base so that we're seeing everybody from an unbiased perspective. And then we'll get the top 5, 10, whatever the number is we want to see to interview. So we don't have to see any of those. So if we are going to go the search firm route, absolutely recommend it. That's my field. I know recruitment very, very well, not this particular job, but recruitment. And so I do recommend we go that route, let them earn their fee, because that's what they're getting a fee for that.
Right. I agree with you completely, Janet. I really.
My
do.
recommendation is that we recommend to the board that we appoint Eric as interim, of course, if he's willing. And then we speak to the judge advocate to say, we really need you to come alongside him and be his support and respond in a timely fashion to FOIAs and all the other stuff that might bite us in the butt.
With the able-bodied assistance and willingness of Chris Weiss on those stuff.
Of course.
We're hiring.
I'll work with
This
Lisa.
gonna do all the stuff that Christie was doing. I mean, my God, people, I mean, what, I think we go. And you'd be a best judge in this room of that. Our major resource is the county. I mean, we've always gone back to the county when the disputes are over and when we get past our egos. The county's still got all of the resources that we need. And if I don't see that they would be unwilling to help in that area, getting a search firm, getting some of this, some help. In the interim, it might make the county board happier.
There's no making the county board happy, I can tell you that decidedly.
I know.
So I
But
think
do we
when,
need Christie though, to sit down and say, this is the criteria that you guys should be looking for?
Well, we've got her
Actually-
job, we've got her
actually,
job
We
description.
know.
And then
But
as a
she's just
board, we
talking
can
about all the idiosyncrasies, all the other little things that she has done, that gets her into the various areas.
Well, it's not
That
that, it's not that so much, Steve. It's just the timeline, getting from, we've got to go to point D and we're not even at A yet. I mean, that's the bigger problem.
so this is what I see, we're gonna have to make a motion for an interim superintendent. We're gonna request that Eric do it, and hopefully he accepts.
Well, here's something, as far as that's concerned, we're gonna have to give him a pay hike for that interim position. The interim superintendent is,
We don't have to.
well,
And
we need
we
to.
don't want to talk about that right from here. We can make that decision when we come out of executive session, I think, but.
I would say dollars and cents, technically, we should talk about it.
Well, let's find out if he wants to do it first.
And then we can negotiate, and he might have terms as well, so we could always do that. Then we also need to make a motion to find a search firm. We can run it through the county, I don't know.
I don't know why you want to reinvent the wheel.
To me, you could just have Eric find a search firm, or, you know what I mean, or
He
Lisa,
may not-
or
Or the new
whatever.
executive assistant can be tasked with it. See, here's the thing. I think that getting the search firm and all of that stuff, and that, like you said, that's step D. We've got all of these changes that are hitting the next 2 weeks. Christie's leaving, new person is coming on. We've got an interim superintendent. And let's maybe take a breath for a month and a half and see where things shake down, and then see what do we need to do next more. I mean, maybe we'll have to have a quick meeting, or, another special meeting or something pulled in there during this time frame. But we don't know how all of these things, we don't know how all this stuff is going to work together and what's going to need to be done.
Well, we know that we need a search firm or somebody to handle this.
Yeah.
I can always see if I can get some recommendations from, because we do a lot with the military, see if we can get some recommendations from people like Christy might know some, and I can send that information. I don't know any personally, I'll just be doing the research to find them. I'd be happy to do that and send them on.
I think if we get this person on board quickly, they're gonna tell us, they're gonna ask us questions. Well, what are you looking for? They'll help us figure out, what type of candidate we're looking for, and then they can actually literally start the search. And I think that the sooner we do that, the better off we are.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So do you think that we would have to call a meeting and have them come to that meeting? Or how do you think that that's going to actually work? I don't know. I'm asking genuinely.
So how it's, there's 2 ways we can do this. We could have the president, well, he's not really around right now, but the president and the interim superintendent could select a firm, right? Maybe they get a couple names, they call them, they decide which one they like. Or we could literally interview them and have them do a presentation in front of the board, but that seems a little extra, doesn't it?
Does to me too. Bring somebody in that's favored and then.
Just let them kind of
Yeah,
wait,
yeah.
because that way, at least we're putting some of the onus on them, some of the liability of doing that search and doing a thorough search.
All right, well,
Right.
we have IJF connections as well. I mean, I know I do, I think Christy does too, I think you do too, but Illinois Joining Forces, Through them, we may be able to make more connections. We've got Military Officers Association of America. We've got all of these organizations that may not be present in the county here or at our table, but we have access to them. And through them, there's going to be, I know of a veteran search firm, or and it's
Yeah.
a owned search firm, and I know one.
Yeah,
The reason
there's
I-
a ton of them out there.
happens to be in Chicago, but they actually are nationwide.
Hmm.
We don't want to bring in somebody from Kansas or whatever, you know, it has to be whoever it is. The thing about the Will County part is whoever it is has to understand Will County. Will County politics, policies, players, etc.
I've been here a long time. I don't understand.
And say,
Okay,
I am a
so-
politician in Will County and I don't know.
Let's qualify.
No, I know what you're
that,
saying.
Understand it as much as it can be understood. You know, to know the lay of the land. So that's something, that even if we did get a.
Well, we could also
firm
put that on our
outside.
list of things, you know, we want somebody who already knows people in the county, already has a network in the county.
Or at least understands how the county operates.
Yep.
Right,
Let's look at Christie's job description. That'll help us set some parameters.
Exactly.
So let's tell, we could, pretty soon, we're gonna close the session. We're gonna come back, we're gonna vote for an interim, we're gonna ask Eric if Eric accepts. We're
first
also
we
gonna
have
make
to-
a motion for him to find a search firm. And then hopefully we can approve that search firm at the.
okay, let me back it up a little bit.
April
First
12th.
motion has to be accepting Christie's resignation.
Yes.
First is Christie's resignation. Second is offering the position to Eric and asking him what salary he would expect.
Should you, we have the luxury of one more meeting on the 12th, it's already set.
Mhm.
Shouldn't we go to Eric first and explain
Well,
to
we
him
can-
what we have in mind and let him weigh in? Because then go back on the 12th and make it formal.
That's what I was thinking. I wanted to vote that we want an interim person, you know, and
And
once
that
we
we-
vote that, yes, that's what we're planning to do. Then we can offer to him today and then hopefully accept he's gonna accept it, you know what I mean?
So
on
you
the
want it
12th.
on the record that we're going to vote to offer him the position?
No,
That we're assigning an interim or we're looking for an interim.
Yeah,
I
I
have to.
think keep it nameless until we know.
no,
Okay.
I don't think we need to. I mean, we can.
I don't know that we need an interim until the 13th, until the 14th.
But I think that it would only be fair to let somebody know 2 weeks in advance.
Well,
that this is
if
what
you're
we're
talking to
asking of them.
Eric, the first thing, and I'd do it tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
then let him weigh in. And if he says no, then we have another path to go down.
We can bring him in and ask him now. We can invite somebody into the executive session.
What do you think?
Well,
I always wanted to be legally right. you know that.
I-
We want to be legally.
I've never
right, but
heard of
we
such a
also
thing.
want-
That's, this is, you're going beyond my,
Okay.
my.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't invite him in.
All right, so then we can close the meeting and do an open meeting and we can just ask him at that point.
So we're
And
gonna motion to accept the resignation, motion that we're going to have an interim superintendent, right?
Could we do that? Do we do that in special session?
I don't know that you need to do any of that.
No, I think we have to go back into open session.
Yeah, I agree with Wayne. I think we do.
This is what I'm talking about is doing in open
Yeah.
session. And then we'll probably make a motion that we plan to find a search firm. And we're hoping to
We'll
have
just
some
leave
names
you-
to look
We'll
at.
just leave you as the chair of the meeting to express those sentiments,
Yeah,
and we'll work.
I just wanna make sure that we know this is where we're going. These are the things that are important that are coming out of the session. Because otherwise, why do we do it?
Like Chris just suggested, tomorrow morning we talk to him.
Well,
We're gonna talk to him tonight because
You
I'm
here?
not coming
yes,
back
he's
tomorrow.
here.
Yeah, there's something right.
I'm not
there.
coming back tomorrow.
Oh, is that who that?
That's
I
Eric is
never-
here.
I don't think I
Right.
ever shook his
Yeah, he's
hand.
got-
But we also need to ask Lisa if she would be willing to
Well, that,
assist.
that doesn't necessarily have to be a vote, though.
No, I agree.
If she wants to help as a member of the board, right, with an official position, I'm sure that nobody would argue as a sergeant at arms, if I came in here every day and was like, I'm gonna help Eric be the assistant or
Yeah.
the interim superintendent. You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna argue with somebody of the board trying to help. So I don't think it needs to be official, but knowing that we're having an interim superintendent and that we're hiring a search firm is important. That's coming out of this.
Right.
Okay,
Move to come
So-
out of session.
Second, can I get a second?
Hold on, let me get some minutes
Oh,
going.
it's still recording though, right?
Yes. Um, Okay, before we make that motion and do that, I'm gonna stop the recording and restart it so that we've got bookends to the executive session.
We would vote to come out in this recording, Denise.
Okay, we're voting to come out of the exec.
Yeah.
You need a motion for it.
Motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
All right, who made the motion?
Wayne.
Wayne.
Okay,
Second,
second.
Steve.
Do we need a roll call vote on this?
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Denise Williams, yes. Amanda Koch,
Yes.
Jim Singler,
Yep.
Janet Blue,
Yes,
Steve Beneke,
Yes,
Wayne Horn.
Yes.
Unanimous, come out of executive session.
All right, go ahead and stop that recording.
Stopping the recording and then I'll
Get the rest-
restart it.
And it's,